I've talked about this guy Herbert Marcuse before on the podcast. He wrote a paper in the 60s.
One-Dimensional Man?
He wrote the book called One-Dimensional Man, but he wrote a paper, an essay called, that I believe he called it On Tolerance, but it was called Repressive Tolerance. And the argument that he made in it was, if it is left-wing, it is acceptable to be violent, and that it is okay because you're doing it for a good reason. That's the long and short of it. It's ridiculous and it's childlike, but it's also the type of mindset that you see coming from the left. You see it in the media when they don't talk about things that the left does, or they talk them down, or it's not that big of a deal. And yet if the right, one of the things that he said is, you should censor people on the right at the level of thought. If you can control people's thoughts, then they will not carry out violence. And it, like I said, it's called the paper's called on toleration, on repressive tolerance. It's worth a read. It's not very long, but it really does lay out the type of logic that leftists tend to be using when they apply to everything, and you see it in society now.
It's amazing how they can create life or death situations out of everything. You know, you say it's a knob, but like I'll notice with leftists, they'll be like, you're trying to kill trans children, and that'll be like what they're saying in their rallies, and this is why we have to have these extreme responses. And I'm like, holy, if you spent like 1 second in the body of like just a 19-year-old white kid in university experiencing their life, you would become a Nazi overnight. You'd be like, the oppression I'm facing, it's like nothing. It's not comparable. You have the corporations, the banks, the government, the media, all these people on your side, and you still think it's a life or death oppression situation. Well, imagine having none of that.
in the documentary Infringed, we're going to keep plugging it because we want you to watch it. You talk to a guy in Berkeley. You're going around asking people at Berkeley, do they want to ban guns? And then you finally meet one guy who's like, no. And then he says he's a gay Republican. And then you're like, do you feel safe? And he's like, well, you know, kind of not really.
Yeah.
I got some questions about Infringed. Maybe you guys can answer them for me since you did it. How many guns did you fire over the course of the shooting? That's a funny word, shooting. Isn't that a weird metaphor?
Filming.
How many
Shooting the
guns
movie.
did we shoot shooting.
With your round count.
I can't count. The most guns would have been at the astronaut cum ranch.
Right. Yeah.
What?
Cum ranch.
What?
Sounds intriguing. Tell me more.
That's one hell of a tangent, Lauren.
I guess the shooting range that Brandon and Cody go and shoot at was actually like a NASA training facility or something, and they had astronauts.
It's not at the range. It's like it's close by.
They've got like a
I don't know if this is supposed to be secret. Is it supposed to be secret? I don't know.
I'm so sorry if I. No, I did publish a bit of that.
Okay.
Yeah, they said
this is Brandon Herrera and Cody Wilson.
They assume that the astronauts
were
up to no good while they were there, so they call it that.
Oh, that's funny.
I see.
So how many total weapons do you think you sampled
Don't
over
take
the
a
course
black light
of
in there.
Or do. I mean, let's talk about it.
We'll say that one for the members only.
Oh, I'd say at least a couple dozen, maybe more, 30, 40.
No, it wasn't that.
Well, I was shooting in Canada as well. And then we were shooting with Stan Malua and... you're probably right. It's probably like a couple dozen.
Yeah, we shot like maybe 4 or 5 in Virginia, and then at the ranch in San Antonio, like maybe 10.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm hyping things up in my head. Woman moment.
Thing is, they were high caliber guns as well.
It was very exciting.
There was an anti-aircraft weapon that we fired, which was
really... Is that 50 BMG?
I think it's...
There's only like 8 of them in existence. They're to shoot helicopters, but you can hold them standing.
Oh, it was like
that was
really fun.
I don't know. What was that? I think Brandon had it. It was shoulder... I don't know enough about guns. It was like a bullpup 50 BMG that he had mounted on his shoulder and was firing.
Yeah, we both got to shoot that. That was like really crazy.
And also Hitler's buzzsaw.
What's that? MG42.
MG42, but
it was very popular amongst the Germans.
I know.
And then it like gave me this really bad rash on my arm. There was a funny
Hitler's hickey.
Hitler's hickey is what we call it.
So that was the MG42, the hickey. You guys called it the hickey.
No, that's the MG42.
So why do they call it the Hitler's buzz? Is that because the dude's
super fast?
So it's the same gun that the Nazis used in World War II. It was just a different round back then. So now it's been changed to a NATO round. But yeah, it's the same gun otherwise.